I've watched people move to Charleston and regret it, and it's not because the city is bad, it's because people make the same mistakes over and over again. Now, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, the 5 biggest mistakes that people make when they're moving to Charleston, and some tips on how to avoid those to make a great move happen instead of one that you're gonna regret. Charleston is an incredible place to live. We all know that. That's exactly why you're here watching this video. But it's hard to go off of just your vacation experience, what you see on Google, and those houses that you're touring virtually on Zillow. By the way, my name is Kyle Weston. I'm a local realtor here, and it's my job to help people buy, sell, and invest all over Charleston every single day. And these are the same 5 mistakes that I see people making every single time. For one, a very big mistake that I see people making constantly, because Charleston is a tourist spot, it is a vacation destination, is choosing your area based on the lifestyle vibes instead of how your lifestyle is actually going to be. So people will choose to live towards the beach or near downtown, or maybe the exact opposite. Maybe they love Charleston and they choose to live way out in Somerville or Moncks Corner, putting you a 30 to 45 minute drive away from those tourist spots that you actually fell in love with. So make sure the spot that you pick to settle down not only matches that same vibe you had on vacation, but also the more practical vibe that you're going to be settling into once you actually make the move. The second biggest mistake I see people making is underestimating that commuter traffic. And I know what you're thinking already. It's not LA, it's not DC, it's not New York. And you're right, Charleston doesn't have that big of a population, but it has grown a lot faster than the roads down here were made to handle. So you might be used to the miles-long traffic in those cities, but a lot of those cities are made for it. Charleston just simply is not. Our city was made for horses and carriages and people, not cars, buses, trains, or semi-trucks. So pair that with the fact that Charleston is nicknamed sometimes the land of 1,000 bridges, even though we don't technically have enough. If you're asking someone like me, that's just still not enough for all the flow of traffic that we have, because the commuter traffic going all the way out to Somerville, to Moncks Corner, to Ridgeville even now, the new builds have started expanding out into. Those people are all flooding into the same spot using one highway system. And then it branches out once you get to the bottleneck. That one highway turns into 3 more, but by then it's too late. And those branches that come off of the main one in that 3-prong direction, coming southwards towards Charleston itself, they aren't made for more traffic either. They go from 2 lanes to 3 lanes, back to 2 lanes, back to 3 lanes. And it's like, why did we even add that 3rd lane in the first place? So you might get a little frustrated because our city is just not made for it. Item number 3 on today's list, you might have seen me cover in a separate video because I've talked about it a lot at this point, but it's our flood insurance and our flood risk that people underestimate. We just kind of deal with it here. LA has its fires and earthquakes, the north has its blizzards, and the south, Texas particularly, you have your heat waves. Here, we just deal with an elevated risk of flooding. So a lot of places they are going to be designated in a flood zone. And if you're in a high or moderate risk flood zone, then you're going to have flood insurance. And that could be another cost as simple as $600 a year to several thousand more dollars per year based on your flood elevation and your risk. And just because you're in a flood zone that's X or very minimal and you don't have to have flood insurance, doesn't mean your flood risk is 0. It just means it's minimal, a lot less than you're going to see in that high and that moderate flood zone. So be careful when you're ready to put down an offer. Double check with me. I'm happy to look up the flood zone, the flood risk, the insurance cost, and the different elevations to help you make an educated decision. Item number 4 in today's list is something that's not unique just to Charleston. This goes for real estate everywhere, and that is waiting too long to buy. A lot of people want to wait for rates to drop. They want to try and time the market and get the best deal. Well, yeah, who doesn't want that? But just because that's what you want doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. There are millions of buyers sitting on the sidelines just like you right now because they're hoping for rates to drop. And every couple percentage points or even small percentages of that 1 percentage point that a rate drops unlocks thousands, even a couple million more buyers from the sidelines that previously were not approved to buy. But a lower interest rate means a lower monthly payment. And with a lower monthly payment, means more buyers, means more competition. And of course, we know the laws of supply and demand. The more buyers that are in the market, the more those prices are gonna get jacked up from bidding wars, from competition. The days on market that you have to make your decision once a house goes live drops from 30 down to 3 days. And now you have to go and see a house one time waive your inspection, waive your appraisal, put down more earnest money, have a bigger termination fee, and you're overpaying for the house. So maybe waiting for rates to drop isn't quite the best idea. Last item I have for you on today's list is not working with a local expert such as myself. And you might think, well, I did real estate in Indiana, or I did real estate in Florida. Heck, I do real estate here in Charleston. I wouldn't know the first thing about those markets. Not all markets are created equal. Charleston is very special. It is very localized and specialized, and there's a lot of things that you got to know about our market to make your offer competitive and to make sure you're not overpaying. I'll give you an example. I have 3 bosses at the moment. One is from Baltimore, one from Indiana, one from Michigan, and guess what? All 3 of them decided to use a local Charleston agent to buy a house here because they didn't know anything about the market here, and they were highly successful realtors in those 3 markets. That just goes to show you, even the best of the best coming to Charleston decide to use a local expert. So if they're doing that, why wouldn't you? Question, little pause. If you could leave a comment below about which of these 5 items that surprised you the most, that would be awesome. I'm trying to gauge interest here. Now, Charleston is an amazing place to live. Of course, I live here, I work here every day. But if you decide to move here without a plan, it goes from enjoyable to very stressful. So if you can manage to avoid the 5 things that I talked about today, you'll be sitting pretty and you'll be one of my Lowcountry neighbors before you know it. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the very end. Again, I'm Kyle Weston, local Charleston realtor. I help people buy, sell, and invest here every single day. And if you're thinking about moving to the Lowcountry and calling Charleston, Mount Pleasant, or the surrounding areas your home, leave a like, a comment, subscribe, turn on the notifications, give me whatever amount of love you see fit. Also, check below for my link where you can book time in my calendar dedicated to you to have that virtual consultation, especially if you're relocating here from out of state. And lastly is a free buyer guide below. Check the comments again. It is there for you. It is free, and I put it together myself. All right, until next time.